good Friday morning to the listeners of DBS Radio, Kyrie FM, Q95, Vibes Radio, and of course, Voice of Life Radio. Welcome to another live edition of the COVID-19 discussion. In studios with us this morning, we have the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Education, Chandler Hyacinth, and we also have with us the Director of the Bureau of Gender Affairs, Melissa Morgan. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning, and thank you for having me, and I look forward to a productive discussion today.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, P.S. Hyacinth.
Good morning.
And how are you doing this morning?
Not too bad, and you?
Very well, thank you. And of course, we want to thank our listeners for their patience this morning. We know that we are starting a little bit late, but we thank you for always tuning in. Of course, we try and bring you as much information as possible during these discussions, and our discussions don't just center on health. You would have noticed that, we've expanded the scope of these discussions to include sectors that are also affected by this COVID-19 pandemic. P.S. This morning, we're going to start with you. And, a lot of people are so very concerned about the students here in Dominica, particularly because they are out of school. And we know that the Ministry of Education has been doing a lot to facilitate the continued education of the students. Tell us what's in place.
Good morning again to our listeners. Well, the Ministry of Education, Human Resource Planning, Vocational Training, National Excellence is pleased to be given this opportunity to provide an update on the response of the education sector for continued learning during this COVID-19 pandemic. At the Ministry of Education, we are committed to ensuring the well-being and health of all our students, teachers, principals, officers, all our staff, employees, all stakeholders. Our response has been flexible and is evolving. At this juncture, we need to recognize and commend all our staff within the Ministry of Education for their work and support as we collaborate in this approach to continue learning. We want to extend special thanks to our Honorable Minister of Education, Mrs. Octavia Alfred, for her support and the leadership that she has shown and the motivation to press on. The ministry has put contingencies in place for continued education. Since the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic, we have been working to ensure that learning continues. However, we have always been guided and will continue to be guided by the public health advice, the advice that is coming from the Ministry of Health. And first, we wish to inform the country that we are still observing the state of public health emergency due to COVID-19 and pandemic. And consequently, all our schools are expected to resume the online learning initiative effective April 20th. Over the past week, the ministry has been working assiduously using remote communication to strengthen our response. Thus, we have planned the following program, and we want to assure the public that our students will not be devoid of education despite school closure. We are poised to implement a program of continued education as our response to COVID. So what are our plans? One of the things that this crisis has done, it is forcing us to put online learning to the test. This crisis is forcing us to use the technological tools available for learning. And this involves transferring the curriculum for the online platforms, the changing of teaching styles, collaborating in different ways, different processes and we have to make policy changes as it relates to continued education. And we have presented a combined approach. We are not using one medium to reach our students and to continue learning. One of our main priority areas is that we will resume online learning options for students with devices and internet access. And our main learning management system we are utilizing is the Google Classroom. This is our main platform that we will be using to engage our students, especially students at grade 5 and grade 6 at the primary level, and for all our secondary school students. We are encouraging the use of other platforms which are available, and we expect students to use these for review of work they would have done over the last 2 terms. At the end of March, some 5,500 students were accessing the Google Classroom platform. And out of our 1,021 teachers, 800 of our teachers have accessed the Google Classroom. This program is not new to education. Over the years, we have been training our teachers in using these tools for learning. Our summer program by the Dominica Association of Teachers, programs by IT Dominica, training through UWI Open Campus since 2016. We have seen over 500 teachers trained in the use of online education. The Google Classroom is expected to cater for all our 1,021 teachers and our over 12,000 students. So we are creating accounts for all our teachers and all our students on that platform. Students who still cannot access the platform, we have created online support. We have created hotlines that they can call to ask for their usernames and their passwords. They can get in touch with their schools so they can get access to the platform. We also encourage the use of the Digicel Learning Hub. To date, since September, we have been training students and teachers. Out of our 53 primary schools, 42 of our schools, staff and students have been trained in using the Digicel Learning Hub. And 12 of our secondary schools have been exposed to the Digicel Learning Hub. This platform is paid for by the government of Dominica. It is free for all our teachers and students. But to access, you must use the username and the password that is provided for you from the Ministry of Education. And again, we are asking persons who want to access those that we can get in touch with the Ministry of Education, get in touch with your school principal to get your username and your password to access that platform. And it is free to all users, but you must use the username that we give you and the password that we are going to give you.
All right, P.S. Just very quickly, you mentioned a hotline that they can call. So let's before we forget, and let's give out that number to the general public. Again, that's the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Education, Chandler Hyacinth, joining us for our COVID discussion this morning. So, P.S. the hotline number.
We have 3 hotlines: 611-3409, 611-3953, and this one is specifically dedicated towards support with online learning, 611-3963. We also have 266-5543. You can WhatsApp, you can send text message in, and you can call. We also have 2 email addresses that can be used, and we have 24-hour support on those addresses. education@dominica.gov.dm, education.dominica.gov.dm. I'll repeat, education@dominica.gov.dm. And we also have support@education.gov.dm. And these hotlines are our support mechanisms, not only for students, parents who may require support for online learning, but we are very much aware, we are always mindful of child protection, child welfare issues, and this is foremost in our mind during these times of crisis. We have our guidance counselors who are online, and they are available to provide support in cases where we have families with distress, persons cannot cope, they have difficulty. We are also offering this lifeline. And we have our guidance counselors. We have 4 guidance counselors within the Ministry of Education who are available and willing to provide psychosocial support to our students, our parents, and to assist our teachers and staff as well to cope with the COVID-19 crisis.
All right, PS, I know you have a lot more information to present. We're going to talk about a little later on CXC and the Grade 6 National Assessment. But you just gave a very good transition into our next guest, who's in studio with us from the Bureau of Gender Affairs, whom I'm sure you would collaborate with. Because, like you mentioned, the students are home. They need that psychosocial support. And we have with us the director, as I mentioned, of Bureau of Gender Affairs, Melissa Morgan. Melissa, once again, good morning to you. We know that a lot of students, a lot of parents are being forced to stay home at this time. And that poses quite a challenge, because there are certain students who and parents who find themselves in not the most healthy of environments, not the most supportive of environments. Perhaps, as far as resources, food, and so forth are concerned, they probably don't have all of those resources. How does the Bureau of Gender Affairs play into that?
Okay, thank you. Public health authorities are working to, contain and eliminate COVID-19 from our resilient shores. But however, despite our best efforts, it is generating, a certain level of stress and anxiety, among the population. Most persons don't know how to control that psychological stress, You feel a loss of control, when is this going to be end? When is it going to be over? No one can tell you an exact date of, when things are expected to return to normal. Persons are even saying there is going to be a new normal after this. Mm-hmm. So there is an increased level of anxiety and stress in the home, on the parents as well as the children. And, globally, in other parts of the world that experience COVID-19, in Wuhan, even in the Caribbean, in the Virgin Islands, they have already reported, severe increases in domestic violence cases. Mm-hmm. Compared to last year, though, the epicenter of the COVID-19, Wuhan, reported almost a triple size increase in the amount of calls related to domestic violence. So this is very significant for us. Prior to COVID-19, the workplace was or even school was some person's safe place. This is where they would go to escape, the harsh realities of living in a confined environment with some of the family members. However, this has changed now, where we're locked down for our own safety, and persons are locked down with their own abusers or the perpetrators of the acts. And this is a considerable cause for concern. Mm-hmm. And there's various reasons for that. It could, as I said earlier, it could be a lack of control or a sense of helplessness in this environment. So some perpetrators, abusers may want to, control, feel powerful again, have some control over the environment. So that are some things that they may do to give themselves a bit of self-esteem or self-confidence, that they're powerful. There's also the increased use, maybe the increase of use of alcohol, which was in Dominica, the what the data reflected after Hurricane Maria and Tropical Storm Erica, where most people resorted to unhealthy coping mechanisms to deal with the pain or the stress or the anxiety with the situation. And I mean, I know that here, alcohol licensing has been temporarily suspended, so that may have helped with the issue. But, persons still have, access, and this could have led them, to drink or to resort to other drugs to deal with the pain. And then what happens then when they're, intoxicated, they take it out on the family. There is also, a change in power dynamic in the home. For example, pre-COVID, maybe the head of the household, was the one bringing in the income. However, that may have changed. A lot of persons lost their income. They were laid off. Maybe the sector they used to work in is not operating right now at full capacity. So there's that change in power dynamic in the home. Maybe the other partner, maybe the wife or the husband, opposite, is now bringing in the only sort of income, and it may not be enough to cover the needs of the household. So all of these are, stressors or causes of stress in the home that may lead to both child abuse as well as violence against a partner, whether it be male or female. Right now at the Bureau of Gender Affairs, in collaboration with our partners, we're looking at launching very soon next week, a national hotline for psychosocial support, where persons can call in and, just talk. As I said earlier, there's significant stress, and that's normal. It's normal to be anxious. It's normal to feel lonely or isolated during the lockdown. It's normal to miss the way things were. Yes. So we want to encourage, when we do launch the hotline very soon, that we hope that persons can call in and, just have a conversation. Let us know how you feel. There will be trained persons responding to the calls. And the main objective of the call is to kind of help mitigate against the psychological stress and also the gender-based violence and the child protection that may be a direct impact from that. So this is something that we're looking to do. However, in the meantime, we still have persons at the office, so you could call in at 266-3344 until we launch, that hotline and a WhatsApp service to provide you better serve your needs.
All right. Thank you so much for that, Melissa Morgan, the Director of Bureau of Gender Affairs. Now, P.S. Hyacinth, let's get back to you for a little bit. We were talking about the online classes being offered by the Ministry of Education, but what about the students who do not have access to online services, whether it's because they don't have internet access or the tools, the equipment that they need, or for whatever reason that they don't have that access? What is the support for them?
Okay, thank you. That's good. Before I go on to that, there's one other area that I need to mention in terms of online resources. We want to encourage our students preparing for CSEC exams that they can also have access to resources for revision on the CXC Learning Hub. There are a lot of resources on that site. There is also the one-on-one classroom, which is offered by Flow. A lot of resources, past paper questions on that site. So we are encouraging our CAPE and CSEC students to use those sites for revision. The second approach towards continued learning is the provision of worksheets and activity packs for the students. We are very much aware that there are many areas with no internet access. We know that all of the East, there is no internet access, and we have certain parts of the North with no internet access. So we are already working with the providers to speed up the connections in those areas. But we are appealing to teachers for areas where students have no access and no devices. They are to prepare activity packages for the students. These packages can be mainly review material from first term, second term, as they prepare for maybe grade 6 or even the CXC exams, or even review material for other students. We are encouraging that those material that is given for review, students can document their responses either in exercise books or on sheets, so that those can be returned back to the teachers, back to the schools, so that this can be assessed. So we are not leaving out students with no access. All teachers are expected to know who are their students with access and without access, with devices and without devices. So they are expected to prepare work packages for those students. We are also expected, we have prepared materials on jump drives, a lot of resources for the grade 6 with video clips, tutorials, and review materials. These have been distributed to all principals of the primary schools, and this is material specific for students of grade 6. So if you have a device, you can get in touch with your principal and they will make that information available to you. That information as well will also be placed on the Ministry of Education website, so parents can also have access to it so that they can download. We're also exploring the use of radio clips to provide material for teachers, for students. Our curriculum officers are preparing tutorials. So we expect to use tele-tutorials. We are working with GIS, Government Information Service, and we have been offered a channel by DigiPlay, and we will be put with presently our teachers. Some of our teachers and our curriculum officers are preparing tutorials which will be recorded, and those will be aired on GIS, on DigiPlay, and we expect to use some of those for radio clips as well. So we are using various means to reach students, and we hope that we can reach all our students in the few weeks ahead, that we expect them to be doing some online work at home. As we do that, we know that the students have to be monitoring. Monitoring will be expected to be done by all our education officers, our learning support advisors, and we expect our principals as well to be on board with us fully, so that they can monitor, so that none of our students will be disadvantaged. None of our students will be left behind. We want to give each child an equal opportunity, especially for the students who have to do assessments. We want to give them the best opportunity for them to do well in the exam. So I want to use this medium to appeal to our teachers, our parents, to give our students every support, ensure that some time is spent on doing their work, doing some work, because we know the effect that when students are not engaged in educational learning activities, we expect some setback. And that is what we do not want to have to happen, that our students will face some setback.
Now, so P.S., you just made mention of the assessments, and of course that's of great concern to lots of people, because they're concerned of, will these assessments take place? What format will they take? Because, those standardized testings are usually done in controlled environments and so forth. So what is the plan for that?
Okay. In terms of grade 6 assessment, as I said earlier, our plan is flexible and it is evolving, and we are working together with the Ministry of Health. They have to advise us on this current situation, the situation as it relates to the crisis, so that firm decisions can be made. So I can say that an assessment will be administered. The date may change, but there will be a grade 6 assessment. But we will be guided by the Ministry of Health, and their directives in this situation. As I said, the situation is still very, very fluid and it's subject to change. And we want to give our students the best opportunity to do well. So whatever announcement that will be forthcoming, we will make every effort so that our students will not be disadvantaged. Our students will be given enough time to prepare. So we want to encourage our students to continue to prepare for the grade 6 assessment.
And what about things like CAPE and CSEC and CXC?
Okay.
What is the plan there?
For CXC, the date for sitting of the exams will no longer be deemed viable. Alternative dates has been suggested by CXC. However, they are subject to the approval of all the member states, because all our countries are part of the CXC body, and we are expected to take the dates to our various cabinets so that they can endorse. But again, too, we are to be guided by regional health authorities, and it is subject to change if things change, because this exam is a standardized exam. It has to go across the region as one exam. So to date, we are looking at July for the exams. It will be done via e-testing modality, and it can be administered both online and offline. To date, so although July is being looked at from the 29th of June right through to July, towards the end of July, it is still subject to change depending on the situation at hand. And the whole dates, the whole exams can be moved based on the situation within the region, and will be advised by health authorities within the region. But the exam must take place. Students need to be able to access higher education. Some students need the exam results for employment. So the exam must take place. What CXC has done is they have changed the format of the exams. So for this year, the exams, your grades will be based on two main areas: school-based assessments and on a one paper multiple choice. So they are doing away with the paper twos, and students only have to do a multiple choice paper 1 exam and the marks that they accrue from their school-based assessments. The deadline for school-based assessments has been extended by a month. Again, CXC has its deadline when Dominica is supposed to submit. This local registrar has to set a deadline for the schools to submit. And at the school level, the teachers have to submit a deadline for the students to submit so that they can correct and put in their grades on the online. So we are looking by the mid-May, all SBA marks will be placed online. And for subjects where we have on-site moderation, we still have time in cases where schools have not done those yet. Subjects like technical drawing, woodwork, food prep, food and nutrition, we still have time for those assignments to be completed, to be marked, to be placed on the online portal of CXC. So we see an extension of the dates for the submission of school-based assessments. All SBAs must be submitted through the online portal before the 15th of May. For CCSLC, the same would apply as well, but the deadline is the 15th of June. The dates for the CCSLC exam is also subject to change. We also do CAPE, but for CAPE, the dates for CAPE exam has also changed, and again, they also have their means for the CAPE exams. Oral exams will take place for French, Spanish, Portuguese, as the case may be. And that is expected to be done from the 1st to the 15th of June. There are some subjects which, again, preparations have to be made and alternative arrangements have been made for them. As I mentioned, modern languages, so you must do your orals, and then you will do your multiple choice paper, and your exam grade, your final grade will be determined by these two. For human and social biology, paper 3-2, which is like a practical type exam, but it's a paper-based exam, will also be administered. And for subjects like visual arts, which is a practical exam, besides submission of your SBA, students are expected to submit their journals as well. This will be graded and will form part of your final grade. We iterate that the situation is still fluid and this is subject to change and will be advised by the health authorities. If there is any change, that the dates maybe have to move to August, they will advise us for that, because we still have to use all the protocols that the health authorities have established for social distancing and all that we have been promoting in our public health campaign.
All right. Thank you so much for that, PS. Let's open up the phone lines because I know the general public, they have lots of questions and concerns. So let's open up the phone lines. The numbers to call, 1-800-327-616-1327, 448-3284. And, of course, the overseas line is 305-432-9744. If you'd like to have a concern addressed, as I'm sure the PS of Education and, of course, the Director of the Bureau of Gender Affairs will both do their very best to address your concerns. So give us a call. We want to thank all the listeners for tuning in, all the listeners of Kyrie FM, of Voice of Life Radio, Q95 Vibes Radio, and of course, the listeners of the nation station DBS Radio. Give us a call with your concerns. So PS, before we take our first call, just very quickly, a lot of people have been treating this like it's an extended vacation. You know, we see a lot of students are very lax and not taking it as seriously as they should, because and some are concerned that maybe everybody's going to be repeating their grade, you know, because it seems like everything's shut down. But in truth and in fact, what would you say to the students out there who aren't taking this very seriously, who really think that this is an extended vacation?
As you said that, I'm just reminded of a telephone call we had from a parent. Some teachers are sending work for students using WhatsApp, for example. So this teacher is sending work to all her students, and they are submitting their responses. This parent was concerned that this child is not doing anything. Happy-go-lucky. So the parent called the teacher. She says, yes, there is work being sent. Your child has not submitted anything. So we are asking parents to get involved too. Get involved. Contact the teachers too as well. Contact the schools. Find out from your child what is the work that the child has to do. We are using various medium to reach the students, whether it's learning parks, teachers I want to commend the teachers as well, who use WhatsApp as a means to reach their students. And they are expecting their students to do the work and respond in the same medium as well. So I want to commend the teachers who are going all out. Some of them are very creative in how they set up their classrooms for their students. And we want to encourage parents to ensure where the child doesn't have access to online, ensure that they check with the child's school teacher, or they check with this principal to find out if there is any work, if any work has been set for our students. We also encourage persons to use the other resources that we also have, like the tele-tutorials. Ensure that they check with GIS. We will make announcements in that regard as to what we have when. Use the television channels. And so we want to use this medium to encourage parents, students, and all our teachers.
All right.
Just so that we can engage our students over the next few weeks
Definitely.
that we are going to be at home.
All right, let's take our first caller. Caller, good day. You're live. Go ahead. Go ahead, caller. All right, we couldn't hear you very clearly, caller. So if you'd like to give us a call back, again, the numbers to call 1-800-327-616, 1-327-448-3284, and the overseas line is 305-432-9744. Give us a call back. Now, Melissa, let's get to you once again before we take a caller. What tips can the Bureau offer to parents and students as they try and cope with spending a very extended period of time together in a household? Because like you mentioned earlier, a lot of people are leaning toward the unhealthy forms of coping. But what tips for the parents who are struggling with their own students, because they took, a lot of parents perhaps took for granted the amount of work, the amount of patience that teachers, right PS, that teachers have and they have to do. But what tips can you provide to parents who are trying to deal with a student who might not be as attentive, or a student who's frustrated with mommy always trying to, what tips? Tell us about that.
Okay, I think number one is, you have to accept that, you're not alone. It is felt by many persons all across the world. I mean, in the case of moms, who have to work from home, so they now have the demands of their job, the demands of house care, the demands of their children. They also have to help with schoolwork. So before, when the school would have taken a majority of the care of the kids during the day, they now have to deal with all three, and it's difficult juggling all of this. So it's very important that you understand that you're not alone. It's normal to feel anxious or stressed, and you should just talk to someone about it. There are other moms or dads who are experiencing similar feelings. Speak about your feelings, talk about it. There are a lot of resources online, how to handle stress, how to deal with anxiety. So you know exactly what you can do in this situation to, reduce the stress of what you are feeling. We always talk about the negative impact of COVID-19, but there's also a very possible positive impact. The social bonding that we can now have with our families, a situation that we never had before.
Right.
There is now opportunity to strengthen the parent-child bond, the bond between parents, the bond within the home. And it is something that, I encourage families to take advantage of. So this COVID, the lockdown, the quarantine, I mean, it's in negative circumstances, of course, but, we also have to look at, how we can increase the strength of family or unity during this time. I mean, the family is the basic unit of any society, and healthy families, lead to resilient countries.
Right.
So, one, understand that you are not alone, that this situation is out of your hands. There's nothing much that you can do to stop COVID. I mean, no one is immune. There have been some very powerful people that have been diagnosed with COVID-19. So learning how to manage your stress and anxiety. There are different tips for different persons that you can simply find online. And if excessive, exposing yourself to too much information is providing you with too much stress, put off the TV at prime time. Keep it up to date, of course, with, local news and things that you need to know. But if you find that, overpouring of this information is increasing your stress levels, maybe that's something that you need to keep away from.
So not to trip you, but we have a caller on the line. Let's go to the phone lines. Caller, good day.
Good day, Ms. Harry, and good day to PSISMs.
Good day, Miss.
Yeah, very good information, very good program and pertinent and sound information. But I have a little concern, though, that when we are giving out information, we need to take into consideration the listeners, the different levels, and the people to whom we are giving that information. Yes, you gave a little story. I had my own experience. A grandparent called me about 2 weeks ago, and she said to me, Monsieur, je peux dire l'école fermée, Covid fermé l'école avec gouvernement pas qu'à faire rien pour ça faire l'école qui a caille. So I asked her why. She said, "Mais tout le monde là pas qu'à faire rien, il y a assez de là, il a garder TV, il a jouer sur phone, il a fait tout bagay." So I had to explain to her the way the programs was going, and I asked her to get in touch with the school and whatever. So we have, and then again the language. Some people are not too fond on the English language. You do need to give them a little battle, that kind of thing. So I was asking if the ministry could probably devise a strategy where we could share that information in maybe a different language, a different way. Thank you.
Yes, we'll try to see what we can do to provide the information in Creole.
All right, thank you so much for that caller. There's another caller on the line. Let's take our next caller. Caller, go ahead, you're live.
Hello?
Go ahead, caller, you're live. Okay, it appears we might have lost that caller. Give us a call back with your concern. So yes, that's a genuine concern that this one lady has raised, because communication barriers can cause a lot more stress, and of course we don't want any of our students to feel left out, to feel left behind, and to feel that they are not receiving the attention that they need and deserve right now. So that's something that the ministry, I'm sure, will take into consideration. We have another caller on the line. Caller, go ahead, you're live.
Good morning.
Hi, good morning.
What app shall I go to for me to get?
You need to turn down your radio, please. Turn down your radio, please, before you continue.
What app shall I go to get work?
So you want to know about the app? Okay, so PS, if you can reiterate again what they can use for the work.
For the work, we can use Google Classrooms. Google Classroom. And you can call 611-3963. So you can get your username and your password so that you can ensure that you are on. Or get in touch with your class teacher, your school, to ensure that a classroom is set up by your teacher and that you have access to that classroom. And when you're calling the hotline, you need to give them your name of your school and the name of your teacher, so they can access the information for you to help you to access the learning platform.
Thank you. All right, thank you so much for that caller. And for the listeners out there, we have another line that you can call if you're trying to get through. It's 449-8719 if you're trying to get through, 449-8719. And we have another caller on the line. Caller, okay. Now we lost that caller. All right, so PS Hyacinth, yes, you.
I also want to encourage persons to use the Digicel Learning Hub. When that young student calls that 611 number 3953, she gives them her school. They will be able to give her access also on the Learning Hub. Learning Hub provides information from grades 3 right through to grade 6 for CSEC students and for CAPE students as well. Mm-hmm. But to access, you must have that username and password to access.
All right, we have another caller on the line. Caller, go ahead, you're live. Good day, caller. Go ahead for me, please. All right, we've lost that caller. Okay, PS, a question for you very quickly. Just a very quick question. What about the teachers? You spoke about students and devices. If a teacher does not have a device, okay, what's the protocol for that?
Okay.
PS, before you go, we have a caller on the line. Caller, go ahead. Sorry about that.
Hi, good morning.
Yes, good morning, caller.
I'm calling on behalf of my little cousin.
Mm-hmm.
She goes to the Portsmouth Secondary School. She's an A+ student. I think she's in something like 3-2 or something like that. But my problem is, I'm in daily contact with her. And I'm there trying to help her, talk to her. And she has no form of internet. She doesn't have a phone with WhatsApp. And she's basically losing off. So I said to her, did her teacher call her? Or does the teacher knows that she doesn't have any form of internet or WhatsApp for her schoolwork? She said the teacher called her mommy once and told her, try to get access to an internet. I'm not sure if that's this child or the parents can even go as far. I'm not sure what to say.
Okay, thank you.
I don't know. And I feel for the child because basically she's just at home doing anything
anything. And she's a very, very bright child at school.
That
All
is
right.
yes, nice, good question. That is
So this is
why we are
very painful
asking.
for me.
All right. Thank you for that caller. PS, go ahead.
That's why we are asking the teachers to prepare activity sheets for the students. I know at Portsmouth Secondary Schools there are particular pockets with no internet. And I know in a particular community where work was prepared for students, the principal had to get one of the bus drivers to bring that work to that community to distribute to the students. So I know that they are making arrangements to get work to the students because we know the areas like Penville, some parts of Acres, there is no internet. So we are asking the cooperation of all our teachers so that they can provide work for our students so that they can be engaged at home. And we can provide means to get the work to the students.
All right. Thank you for that, PS. So before do have a question for you, Melissa, very quickly. But PS, we were talking about the teachers and devices. So what provisions are being made, if any?
Okay. Presently, there are some schools where there are devices available, but they are maybe be available at the school. So it may mean for some teachers they may have to access those at the school because most of the schools they are connected, except for in the east. Most of the schools are connected and are being connected. So I know in Penville, for example, there was no internet, but now the school has internet. We are also working behind the scenes with international organizations who have pledged support, COVID support, and we are looking at purchasing devices that we can give in some communities to students and teachers for them to do their work. So we are working in terms of provision of that. As we speak, I have an invoice on my desk for some devices which we are going to access, and I have the support of one organization to pay for those devices. So we are working behind the scenes to provide support for our students who are unable and for our staff too, so that they can have access to the devices.
Excellent. Thank you so much, PS. We have another caller on the line. Caller, go ahead. You're live.
Yes, good morning. Very good program. But my concern is my daughter she has a class on the internet with her teacher. But the thing about it, my problem is flow has a problem. The internet keeps going off and coming on, going off and coming on. I would appreciate if flow keeps the internet working. So who have internet, we can also access it, and the children can be learning better. Because last week she had to stay out of the class because of no internet. They have their class on Zoom, and then the internet just going off and on, off and on. So I have a problem with that. So I'm begging Flo if we can keep the internet up because she's in grade 6 for exam. So she need all the information on her that she can get at this point in time.
And that's why we are working with the various ministries as it relates that are related to telecoms, so they can work with the providers to provide us with some secure internet that we can continue our learning with the students. So we are working behind the scenes with our providers in that regard as well.
All right, definitely. Melissa, I have a question for you very quickly. Now, if I live in a community and I suspect that there might be a child or even an adult being abused, again, like we mentioned, so many students are being left at home when they could have escaped to school for a few hours. Now they're at home with their possible abusers. If I suspect that, what should I do?
I think first you should try to reach out, the suspected survivor or victim. Try to reach out to them, talk to them, and see how you can be of assistance. For some persons, it takes a while to even admit to themselves that this is happening and this is wrong, and may even take longer to report it to you. So it takes a bit of patience. And if you're willing to do that, I encourage you to reach out. If it's something that is life-threatening, then, you have to report. It's mandatory reporting, especially if it involves a minor. So this is something that has to be immediately reported either to the Social Welfare Division or the police force.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Let's go back to the phone lines. We have another caller on the line. Caller, go ahead. Yes, caller, go ahead. You're live.
Hello?
Yes, darling, go ahead.
What's the number again?
611
611
39
You have to turn down your radio.
53.
3953. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. All right, thank you so much. So, so much information we have to disseminate, so much information we have to give to the general public, and the time is never enough to tell people everything that we need to tell them. And as I speak, another caller is on the line. Let's take that caller. Caller, go right ahead.
Good day.
Yes, good day, caller.
I have a question. So what about the teachers who have no access to internet and we have to put data plans that are very costly, and the ministry still expects us to go ahead with our full work because we have to submit work. We were asked to put in grades on MS without no internet service, and data plans are very expensive. So what can you tell us about that?
All right, thank you, caller.
This too is being considered, and as soon as we have a plan for the teachers, we will make the information available to them.
All right, of course, so many avenues have to be explored during this time. And P.S., like you mentioned from the very beginning, it is a fluid situation. And there's a learning curve for us because we all have to adapt. We all have to make adjustments as the time goes along because nobody expected that school would be out for this long. It's not something that we were prepared for in advance. It's not like the hurricane season that we know is coming every year, that we can do this and do that and do this and do that. It's something that happened upon us, and now all of us are making adjustments. So of course I know that the ministry is asking for to just bear with you a little patience, and everybody is trying to adjust and make the necessary changes that need to be made and give the necessary support. So P.S., like I said, a lot of information. I'm sure you probably have a little bit more that you'd like to talk about before we wrap up. So I'll have you do that, and then maybe we'll take a couple more calls before we end today's program. So go ahead for me, P.S.
I also want to note too, there are many schools where internet is provided. So persons can make use of internet facilities at their schools. And there is a way that you can get access to the internet so that you do not have to use all your data from your phone. So practicing social distancing, practicing the public health advice that have been given in terms of wearing masks and so on, especially in communities. If you live in a community and your school is in that community, where we can encourage you to use the internet that is provided at that school as well. I also want to make mention of the Dominica Library Service. We also have structures there to assist with learning. They are offering information through their webpage, www.dlis.gov.dm, and also through their Facebook page. On their website, there is a link, Ask Your Librarian. And especially for students who are still working on school-based assessment and you need research material for your SBA, use that link. Ask the librarian. They will research the material for you and they can submit that material to you so you can have it for your SBA. We want to encourage our students as well to make use of the online services provided by the Dominica Library Information Service. And you can also send your emails through dlis@dominica.gov.dm. You can email your question, email your topic that you would need material for, and use the Ask the Librarian link, and they can provide you with information. The library service is also available online, and you can make all our officers are working with that online service, and we can make information available to our students using that medium as well. They also have a Facebook page, and they are also placing a lot of resources through their Facebook page, and we're asking persons to visit the Facebook page as well, because material is available there as well. As you said, Miss, this is we're just appealing for patience. We are appealing for collaboration. This is a test for us as well, and we want to make it work. That's why we want to provide not just online resources, but also we want to provide hands-on type activities, so none of our students will be left behind. And I appeal to teachers, because as caller said, we have bright students out there who want to work. So please do not let them be left behind. Do not let them be left behind.
Now, P.S., lest we forget, we still have students out there, students in China, for instance, because the spotlight has been taken away from China, and Wuhan province, and it's moved out closer, to the US and Italy and the UK. But we still have students who are over in China. And, can you give us a little update on their condition, the situation with them?
The situation in Wuhan has improved. I know I am in contact with some of the students on the Student Association. We have daily online communication, and as far as the reports are, they are much better now. They can go. There's some restrictions, but they can still go out. Classes continue for them online, and most of them are much more comfortable because they have an opportunity to go out online. There have been, the concern now is in the cities where you have increased COVID cases. And if you follow what is happening on social media, you have persons are blaming black persons for bringing in COVID into their communities, and there is persons are expelling black persons from their apartments and the like. In this particular community, we have one student, but she is on her campus, and she is protected and provided with support by her school. So we are in contact with the students, and we know that they are okay.
Very good. And another question, I'm going to ask this from the perspective of a student. Everybody likes the pomp and circumstance that comes with graduation. So a student might be wondering, what of that? Is that something that they should even
graduation is the easiest one to fix. Easiest thing to fix. Graduation can be as far down as December, November. Graduation is the easiest one to fix. Schools will have that opportunity to plan and select their dates for their graduation once we have things are back to normal, and we have school continuing.
Definitely. So that even if you're in college, we will call you back to graduate.
Yes, that can happen.
All right. Thank you so much, PS. We're getting to the end of today's program, so I'm going to open the phone lines for probably one or two more calls very quickly. So if you have a question, a burning question that you'd like to ask, then feel free to call us very quickly before we wrap up. Melissa, while we wait on the final callers, any final remarks that you'd like to make to wrap up the program today?
Okay, I would just like to say, reiterate that globally, statistics have shown an increase in gender-based violence, domestic violence, increases of child abuse. And, I know for some people, the home might not be the safe place right now. And, the best thing I can ask or request is that you reach out, talk to somebody, both men and women in the home. It's okay to feel anxious. It's okay to feel stressed. It's okay to be uncertain and want some form of control over the situation. But that's not possible right now. So the best thing to do, reach out to your friends, reach out to each other, and even persons, who may not be experiencing the situations, reach out to your other friends and ask them if they are okay, and see, it's time for the neighborhoods or communities to come together and look out for each other.
Definitely. And PS, how about you?
Even through education, we intend to work with CREED
Mm-hmm.
to provide support in some communities. We will be working with other organizations to provide some of the support that Ms. Morgan is speaking of. We want to use the online platforms to do parent programs for the parents, put in webinars, put in information, tips. And as I said earlier, we have our support from our guidance counselors persons can make referral to, and information can be passed on to the relevant authorities. This is a high stress time. We have persons who cannot cope. We have children asking questions, and sometimes we sometimes we view what is on television and we become overwhelmed. So we all have to provide the kind of support. We have to empathize and provide support for parents, for our students, for our staff. Sometimes we focus on the students, but we have our staff members
Definitely.
too, who may have their own challenges, and they have to cope. And that's why we are considering our staff too, our teachers, our principals, our education officers in the plans that we have, so that we can give them some sort of relief. We know that it is difficult when they are located far from their school, for example, and you may have to use your data. But we just appeal for you for your patience, and we are considering, and we have to work with the relevant authorities so that we can provide some relief for them. So we appeal for patience, and we appeal for the continued collaboration among our officers and our schools, and we will try to provide as much support as we can for each other, so that we can ride this storm together.
Definitely. Now, this caller has been calling for a while, so let's take this final caller before we end today's program. Caller, go ahead.
Good morning.
Hi, caller. You're live. Go ahead with your question.
Want to call your guest. Just interested in knowing what's really happening with the school in Granby Primary School. That's one of my concerns. Are we still moving? Do we still have plans to move?
Yes, we still have plans to move when we go back to physical places, physical school. We'll certainly have to approach you, the parents, Madam President. We will approach the parents. We have the designs finally. We're looking over the designs for the new building. We have to come to you to present those designs, and we have to continue to work as we relocate the school so that construction can begin for the new school. So it is not on hold.
Okay, thank you. But one of the other things I'm concerned about is the parents who do not have internet access, and also a laptop or a tablet or maybe even a smartphone.
Okay, so that's why we're asking the teachers to prepare activity sheets for the students. Prepare activity sheets for the students. We are making the resources available. We have already procured paper. We are making the resources available so that teachers and their principals can work together to provide activity sheets to the students. Those activities can be recorded in their exercise books and brought back to the teachers for assessment. So we expect our teachers to work with the students, especially for those no internet, no devices.
All right, thank you, Mom.
You're most
All right,
welcome.
thank you so much. And, we've taken up a lot of time on this program, and we know that the stations have to go back to their regular programming. But I want to thank our guests this morning, Ms. Melissa Morgan, the Director of the Bureau of Gender Affairs, and, of course, the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Education, Chandler Hyacinth. Ladies, thank you so much for your time. We want to thank the listeners of DBS Radio, Vibes Radio, Kyrie FM, Q95, and Voice of Life Radio. And we cannot stress enough the importance of things like social distance. I know we talk about these things so much, but we cannot stress them enough. And of course, for the students who are home, social distancing also applies to you. It still does not mean that you get to go on the playing field to play football with 15 of your friends. That was a concern that was raised very early on, that with the students at home, that they would be engaging in those things. This is not the time for that. You are still to practice the social distancing. So I'm going to make a special appeal to the parents who are home, or if you're not home and there's some other supervision for your child, that you stress that they need to practice social distancing. Now is the time to stay home, to get the work done, to do your reflection. P.S., I get the feeling you have something that you want to add to that. Go ahead.
We are collaborating with the sports division, and we will be placing things related to sports for students as well. And I'm sure there will be activities related to exercise and physical activity that they can do,
Right.
so that there will be something else to do rather than just be all involved in work. And we have advised the teachers as well to look at the type of activities
Right.
that you give the students.
Right.
It doesn't always have to be work. They can
Exactly.
conduct experiments. They can do other things. So that is, and I'm sure that the material that sports division will be provided through the classrooms, through the websites, will also be handy for them.
Very good. All right. So that means you'll be able to stay home and still do some of those activities. So thanks to the sports division, very good initiative, PS, because there are many students who, it's not always about the academics and the grades, but it's also, that's a mechanism for them to cope, if they have that avenue as well. So thank you so much, ladies, for your time. Thank you again to our listeners. We'll be with you again, God willing, on Monday at 11 for another edition of the program. So we'll tune in for that. And of course, we always urge you to tune into our press briefings and all the information that's being put out there by the very reliable sources, the credible sources. And we ask you to continue to follow that. Thank you again for listening.
Thank you
Until
too.
next time. Thank you very much, ladies.
Thank you.